Right. So when you jumped into coaching in women's football, did you notice like what was the biggest difference that you noticed when you started coaching in women's football compared to coaching boys at Valencia or in Korea? Like what was the biggest difference for you once you started coaching women?
It's true that the technical aspect or the tactical aspect is not a big difference between boys and girls because they are good players. So there's no big difference. You're training with really good quality. If the players are good, the quality of the training is really good. For me, was one difference, of course, the physical aspect. Difference between boys and girls, they are different, and the speed, the strength, the explosivity of the players, of course, is different. And the emotional aspect that you say before, for me, I had to learn a lot, and I have good and bad experience proving myself in this situation. Of course, that is something different, but they are really professional. They train really good, so no, for me was more. Everything was positive in this aspect. But of course, you need to. The main difference is the physical aspect because they are different, and just you only talk about the size of the weight. Sure. Is a big difference. So only because of that, you find that the speed of the game is different. But about technical aspects or tactical aspects, they are really good. Of course, sometimes you need to prove yourselves every day, because they ask you and they make you questions, and they are really looking into the task to see what can they improve, how can they improve it. So for me, it was experience to make me better coach after that.
And you mentioned this just a little bit right now. The emotional part of the game in women's football is slightly different from men's. Like, could you explain a little bit more in detail how they differ? Like what would you say is the biggest difference between when it comes to the mental aspect of the game between men's football and women's football?
Of course, about emotional, both boys or girls want to win, and they are so competitive. That's not a big deal. One thing is that they express more themselves. So they talk more to the coach, and they ask more questions about how we are doing this, why we are doing that. So, and also you need to approach the players maybe in a different way. But for me, it's that they are more open, they speak more, they are more confident of telling something that maybe boys sometimes, okay, coach, we have to do 5 times this, okay, we make this 5 times and it's okay. So, but I think it's something that is good, because also as a coach, you need to be prepared of this kind of situations.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Another thing I wanted to ask you was, obviously, I mean, we talked about this, but you're one of the people who deserves to be congratulated for Spain winning the Women's World Cup recently, because quite a few of these players have actually been playing under you at Levante throughout your coaching career. Ona, excuse me if I'm butchering these names, but Ona Batie, Ivan Andres, Claudia Zornosa, and Eva Navarro. These are all players who've played under you. When you were coaching these women, did you ever foresee that they could go on and contend for a place at the top of women's football, world football like this?
Yes, Ona was incredible player. For me, is one of the best fullbacks in the world. Was when she arrived, was young, and she had an injury in her ankle and couldn't have a proper season, but she was really, really good. Ivana and Claudia, the profile was different. They had a lot of experience. When they came to Valencia, they came as a stars, being one of the best players in their position. So in this situation, they were really good. Ivana and Claudia were one of the best players we had on the team. And Eva Navarro was a rising star. She arrived to the team with no matches played in First Division. So she made the debut in First Division that season. She scores her first goal in First Division in the match against Valencia in Mestalla. So it was a really good goal. So she made her debut in Levante in this season with me, and was a rising star. You could see the talent. He was a really explosive player, really fast, really good in the 1v1 situations, with really strong shot. So we of course we knew that she was going to be one of the best players in Spain. Then she had an injury last season in AT Madrid. Maybe it's because of that she was not in the lineup every day in the Spanish national team, but she's really young. She won the World Cup. She in the young categories, she won the European Championship, being the best player. So I think it's going to be one of the best players in the world.
When I see Spain in women's football, as a Korean, it's it's very interesting to me, and because I can't help but remember the Women's World Cup in 2015. I still remember watching this. I was in New York when I was watching this tournament. But in that tournament, Korea beat Spain in the last game of the group stage to advance to the last 16. But since that tournament, Spain made an incredible turnaround. They won the Under-17 Women's World Cup. They won the Under-20 Women's World Cup. And this year, they actually won the actual Women's World Cup. In your view, from your perspective, from someone who has been involved in the domestic football, in Spanish women's football, how do you think Spain was able to make this progress over just 8 years? Or is this something that goes beyond these 8 years that culminated into this situation?
I was giving a speech in New York about that as well, because I think there are 3 key points in that. Investment, of course. Spanish Federation started investing in the national team and in the young categories, of course. Second, we built new categories. A few years ago, I'm talking about the beginning of the 2000 years, we didn't have young categories for girls. They have to play with boys. So they start building this under 8, under 10, under 12, under 14 for girls, so they can compete, and a lot of girls can start playing football. And the other is the coaches. They start having good coaches with them. They start developing these girls. They have coaching guidance from young time until his maturity. And for me, it's these 3 things: investment, new categories, and good coaches. And of course, the talent of the players. And other important thing that I want to say now, in my federation, the FIFA says that we are an example in Valencia about how we built the women's football for the girls. We are now as an example in whole world about how we are working in this. I have one colleague, is called Menchi, is his name, and he created a project called Valenta. And this project now is shown by the FIFA in whole world as an example of how you have to build the competition from young ages to amateur level for making the girls love football, start playing football, and develop themselves as players.
After your journey in women's football, I mean, maybe one day you'll be back in women's football, but after your time at Levante, you spent a little bit of time in India as well. In a country like India, where there may be the resources and the market for the game to flourish. I mean, it's a big country. It's a big country with big population, but the game of football has not yet made a lot of progress compared to some of the other countries. What are some of the most important things for a country like India? After having experienced the football culture there, what would you say are some of the most important things that a country like them can do in terms of setting up their infrastructure and things like that to one day maybe become a strong footballing nation?
Of course, they can be a strong nation because there are a lot of people there. So that's important thing. But the football in India is really strong. People think that not. Football in India is really strong. You have a really good players that play in first division in Europe that go there when they are not old, they are still young, and they play in first division. In my team, we have 5 players that play in first division in Spain. So we are talking about players that really high profile, that they have a really good salary, much better than in Europe. So the league and the competition is really strong. Year by year is better. Now they are competing in the Asian Championship, and they are a really, really strong league. For me, it's something I was surprised about. The infrastructure, the media, the fans was really, really strong league. The problem with India is that they don't have anything about grassroots, and they don't have not a good or a proper program for developing young ages. Players, they play by themselves, and then you find some good players and you bring to maybe second or first division, and they don't have a proper education in football. In the moment they realize about that and they start building academies, they start building a system, they start building competition system for the development of the players. Of course, they will improve. Now they are getting better because the league is much better. A few years ago, the league was kind of place for retirement. Good players like Del Piero, Trezeguet, they go there, they earn a lot of money and then leave. Now that's not the way. The players that go there, they are young, they are hungry, and they are really good, and they get well paid, but the competition is really good. So it changed. Of course, the problem is that they don't have a strong national team because they don't have a strong system for developing the players. But in the moment they are able to do that, well, they are going to be a strong team. But the league is really attractive and the teams are really good. Of course, they have, when I was there, I found that some players, they were in first division, that I was surprised that, oh my God, how they don't do that? How they don't mark this way? How they don't orient, put the body profile in this situation? How? Because they didn't have a proper education. So in the moment they have a proper education in young ages, when they go to first division, you don't need to correct these aspects. Because sometimes in the training, we need to correct some aspects that, oh my God, this is first division. I don't need to tell them that. And I have some Spanish players that play in first division, and they say, hey coach, how in the world they are not marking properly? Because they didn't have a proper education. I tell my captain Hector, that now is coach here, I say, hey, Hector, they don't have the proper education. When they were like you playing in Levante with 16 years old, they didn't have a proper coach or proper competition. So they need to learn in the moment. So that's the thing that maybe, but India has really good players. They love football. They have a really strong fan base. They have a good stadiums. In the moment, for me, they generate a proper system of education, and they are going to be a massive team.
I'm going to ask this question and have Young-hoon ask a few more questions for you if he has any. But during your time at the Valencia Academy, I've heard that you didn't really have a chance to coach this player directly, but there was a certain player by the name of Lee Gang-in, a Korean player at Valencia, who was rated as a top prospect of Valencia even during that time as well. And obviously a superstar waiting to happen in Korea, even at that time. Right now he is. Young-hoon gave me a little bit of a hint on your thoughts on Lee Gang-in as a player at the time. What kind of player was he from your perspective when you saw him at Valencia? And what did you make of him? What was your experience seeing him like at Valencia? I just want to get your thoughts on him, because right now he's at a point where he's one of the biggest stars in Korea.
No, of course, now I think that with Son is going to be one of the biggest stars in Korea in football. Now in PSG, with Mbappe, with Asensio, with these kind of players. I think that for Kangin was really good going to Mallorca to develop himself, to understand how to defend, how to work for the team. And because he's talent of the nation. When he arrived to Valencia, I was there as well. He arrived from the under 10 team when he was 9 years old, I think, and we were all, oh my God, the Korean guy is so good. He didn't understand properly the tactics, but he didn't need it, because he take the ball, he pass everybody, and he score a goal. So he didn't need to, because he has the technique. He was a poor talent. Under the guidance of good coaches he had in Valencia, he get better and understanding, because when you arrive, one of the points more important in the life of a player is when they change to 8-a-side, 7-a-side to 11-a-side, because the pitch changes, the side of the pitch changes, everything changes. So you need to understand the game differently. At the beginning, Kangin was not that impressive player at the first season in under 13, even he has so good. But then when he started understanding the game, when he was under 16, was good. Then he was with the Valencia team. He was playing with the regional team for the Spanish competition. We had him in the regional team, and he was really good player. Technically and tactically, he improved, because when he was in the first team in Valencia, he didn't adapt at the beginning. I think even he has the talent, and going to Mallorca made him a better player. I think that Valencia made a mistake giving him so soon, and now you see in PSG. Now I know that he still didn't manage to make it properly, and now he's going to play in the Asian Games, I think, with the national team. I think Kangin is going to play. I think to be able to skip the military service.
Most important thing in Korea.
For Son.
Yeah.
They won the. Because I understand that for this kind of players that they are playing in Europe in this high level is difficult to manage the situation. But of course, I think it's an incredible player. And for me, even surprised me the level he arrived. I think was good going there to Valencia, then Mallorca, to mature himself and then go to PSG.
Awesome stuff. Hey, Young-hoon, do you have any questions for Kino before we wrap up?
Kino, you mentioned about India football. They have infrastructure, they have a huge fan base, and they have some foreign players who has the experience in professional level and in Europe too. But you also mentioned about they don't have a base to develop the players in young ages. So I'd like to ask you, how was your methodology? How was your daily base when you were there? I mean, the periodization, and how was the training? For example, Villas Boas, Portuguese coach, he also mentioned about how was the Chinese football when he was there. He said Chinese football in youth level, in grassroots level, they also didn't have the base. So he said he had to act like a youth football coach, because the concept of tactics, and they don't have how to move the line when they defend. They didn't know what they have to do. So I'd like to ask you, how was your daily work with that team? And also, in first place, you are the second coach, but during the season you have to be the first coach. And how did you deal the situation in that moment?
I was the sport director, young of the team, and also the assistant, because I was there with DB7, so I was having the responsibility of signings and everything, and also helping the coach. But during the season, we decided that I have to take the team and direct the rest of the season. The methodology, of course, I agree with that you say that you have to teach them some things that you suppose that they know, like putting the line, like how to mark, like the body profile, like how you have to play or defend wall pass, or how to find the space, or how to make a circulation. So usually we were in COVID situation in India in that season, so we were locked in a hotel. Was a really nice hotel, but we couldn't make more than train. So usually one of the things we realized is that they didn't have a good culture of the work outside the pitch, about the food, about the rest, about the strength training, about working in the gym. It's something that we try to improve with them and make them understand that it was really important to go to the gym to train. They made it. They are nice guys. The players, they are nice guys, because of course the foreigners, they know about that. They go to the physio every day. We need to improve the medical service as well. So these things, okay, we manage. About the training, not much different that we train in Spain. About day 1, day 2, day 3, we made the same. But usually one thing we made is after the training, we have sometimes maybe one day with fullbacks, one day with center backs, one day with strikers, with midfielders, to make some individual training about technique, about a specific situation of their position, and then a lot of video analysis. We make video and we put video, we show video, and then we talk about the making decision, and step by step they were learning about this kind of situations.
Yeah. And I'd like to talk about your current job. Now you also mentioned about the women football project in Valencia. Now you have to deal many things in Federation of Valencia. So I'd like to ask you how do you define the football in Valencia when you compare it to other regions? For example, Galicia, Basque Country, or Andalusia. They all have their own culture and they all have their own character. But now you have a job in Federation of Valencia. Now you have to deal many things with Federation. So I'd like to listen your opinion about that.
For me, Valencia is one of the top four regions in Spain about football. With Catalonia, Madrid, Andalusia, and Valencia, I think we are and of course, Basque Country. They have their own culture, and we know about Bilbao and everything. They have their own culture. For athletic, they only sign players from the region, so they have. But in the regional football, I think Valencia with Andalusia, Madrid, or Catalonia are one of the best places. You have to understand that we have 5,500 teams in the region, so we are speaking about a lot of teams. So we have a lot of players, and we also we have the impact of having a lot of clubs in professional football. We have Elche, we have Eldense, we have Levante in second division, and we have Valencia, and we have Madrid in first division. In women, we have Valencia, Levante, and Villarreal. And in indoor soccer, we have another 5 teams. So we have a lot of professional football. When we talk about our region in football, we have the big influence of the way that the academies of Valencia, Levante, Villarreal, or Elche play, because we use a lot of these players in the development. So we try to play, usually the teams, we have all of different styles, of course, because we are, as I told you, 5,500 teams. So, but the best teams in the top leagues of the region, they are influenced by the way that Valencia or Levante play.
Okay, so Kino, I'm gonna close with a very common question that we ask to all of our guests before we end. What is it that you would ultimately like to achieve in coaching? Is it happiness in life? Is it trophies in football? Or what kind of coach do you want to be remembered as?
I want to be remembered as a good coach, but talking about a good person, I think I really like when players text me or remember me as a good person, because coach, I can improve every season and I can be better coach, and I hope that in 10 years I'm better coach than I'm now, of course. But when I live in a team, I want that my players remember me as a good guy, of course, that they and a coach that want to make them better, because as a coach our job is to make them better, to help them to be better. So if you try to help them to be better, I think you are making your job. Of course you can win, you can lose, but only one team wins. But I think that the main focus, the main goal of a coach is making that their team of their players are one step better when they finish with you than when they started with you. I think it's the most important thing. What I would like, of course, I want to train, and I want to have a lot of teams to train in my life. I hope that I can train again. I don't mind about the country, I don't mind about the team, but I want to coach a lot of teams in my life. This will be happiness, because winning trophies is something that it doesn't depend on you. Of course, you can work for that, and you can. But if you only one coach Real Madrid, and probably it's not going to be me. So you have to be realistic about that. Winning trophies, of course, I want to win everything. When I was with Jong-un, we play FIFA in my house, and I wanted to win always, because I want to win. When we were having some chicken in my house, Jong-un, I wanted to win in FIFA, because I want to win always. But of course, for me, winning is having a team when the players trust you, and when you can develop your methodology and you can go every day to train. It will be my goal. Where? I don't know. Maybe football takes me to an exotic country next season. I don't know.
Sure.
If don't, I will keep working in the federation. I'm really happy here working with the people I have here and with my teammates and with my colleagues. So I don't know. Maybe I continue here. I don't know. But of course, the main thing for me is being related to football.
Yeah, no, that's great. So Kino, yeah, thank you so much for taking your time. And the reason why I really enjoy recording this podcast is because I feel like every coach we speak to, there's a very common theme where it almost seems like a continuation of the conversation that we've always had. But with each guest, they have their own experiences, and there's something unique about their experiences. So there's something new to add to that as well, even though our conversation kind of concept of it continues in the same way. So I think that's what makes it really interesting. So Kino, thank you so much for taking your time. Youngwon, thank you for taking your time as well. Thank you, everybody. So we'll wrap up today, but we'll be back before you even know it with episode number 6. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.